love of video games is an idea for a video I've wanted to make before, talking about my love for various games. I scrapped that idea, but for this video I'm going back to it in a small way. So without further ado, here are 6 video games that I've really come to love. I've shown a lot of this one off, and it's now my most played game on Steam. That is Teardown, a voxel destruction heist game. Now there's been a lot said about the main campaign levels, and they are great, with many ways to approach them to try and get your objectives faster. But one thing that has continued to make me love about Teardown is the creative side. Being able to walk around my own voxel models in game and seeing all the parts I've put into them is great. It's a creative tool and one that I've not seen much at all, so I'm all the more here for it. Plus tons of user mods to have fun with. The game that I did my first and pretty much only complete series on, and had a fun time with. Good story, good music, and a well done game for a point and click. The Silent Age. You use time travel to switch between the times before and after humanity's extinction, seeing how the years affected the area and figuring out what happened. When doing the puzzle aspect, I did find it difficult and had to look up a walkthrough occasionally, but they didn't feel too unforgiving, and I did find my way through a fair few on my own. It's a game that I don't think I'll come back to play, but if the studio were to make a sequel or a similar game, I'd be willing to play that. But unfortunately, for whatever reasons, they seem to have gone away from game dev entirely. The games that have pretty much taught me to have all the patience and made me have the first aha moments when it comes to puzzles. Portal and Portal 2. I love both, but the second game in the series lacks a certain thing that I have a particular fondness for. The music, Self-Esteem Fund. This piece of music makes you feel, in my opinion, that you're all alone trapped in this miles down structured facility, being watched over only by the looming AI that is GLaDOS. Onto a lovely indie story adventure game about a boy traversing a rain-soaked city to save a girl from ghostly creatures. Rain/Lost in the Rain. Developed by Japan Studio in 2013 for the PS3. Rain was one of my favourites back when I had the console, and if it was around on more platforms, I'd play it again. But like the Silent Age, this game was pretty much just released, then the team that made it separated off into other things. It was unique in its gameplay, being only visible while in the raindrops. So if you went undercover, you'd turn completely invisible, thus being protected from the many creatures that were hunting you. And this girl who you are trying to save. And the main music of this game is Clair de Lune, and it works perfectly. The game is hard to find nowadays, with it being restrictive to just PS3, and all digital downloads from what I've seen have disappeared. So the only way to play it is if you find a physical release somewhere or through emulation. But if you do find a way to play it somewhere, then it's worth it. A game that made me enjoy more of the relaxed sit-back nature of so-called walking sims. This one had more than just listening to whatever was being said, and that had a uniqueness to it. What Remains of Edith Finch. The Finch family believed that they were under a curse and died long before their time. And you play as the last in the family line, returning home for the first time in 7 years, going from room to room reading the many stories left behind. The game did these stories beautifully, and ones that kept me wanting to see through each and every one. And I loved it. Onto one that has affected me on a level I say no other game has. Even after completing it a while ago, it still hasn't left my mind, and I'm happy about that. Spiritfarer. So, grief is a hard, inescapable thing we pretty much all have to bear at some point in our lives, and a life without it is a more sad one. I have mentioned before that I have not strayed away from it myself. I lost a very beloved pet to a runaway car. I was only told about this but never got the chance to see her for the very last time. And it took me a while to accept that not always you get a chance at saying goodbye. Not having that chance is represented in game with one of the spirits you meet, Atul, the big, lovable, joyful frog. Atul teaches us a few things from fishing, cooking to simply enjoying the sunset. He took great pride in it, but he hid an emotional hole that no matter what we did, it unfortunately could not be filled. The story of Atul ends off with him disappearing without a trace, and we never truly know what happened, and that resonated with me a lot. I have my current pet who I love so very much, but as the years go by, I am made all the more aware that she won't be with me forever, and the day will come where I'll have to face grief once more. Spiritfarer has hugged me tight and told me that while it can be difficult, it's nothing to be fearful of, and it'll be okay in the end.